Remember, everything's listed for you in the order in which you should kind of fill it in as you go. So if the first thing is my x-intercept, what's going to get set equal to 0? 2x to the third equal to 0. Now, you can divide that by 2 and say, well, that's still x to the third equal to 0. And you can take the cube root of x to the third and take the cube root of 0, and, well, you're still going to get 0. Okay. If you see it before then that's okay. Bless you. So my x-intercept is at 0. So I'm going to have a point here at 0, 0. Second step then is to find my vertical asymptote. So what's going to get set equal to 0 now? Bottom. X to the third minus 1 equals 0. X to the third equals 1. The cube root of x to the third and the cube root of 1 is x equal to still 1. So then what is my vertical asymptote? X equal to 1. So what does that mean needs to happen on my graph? I need to have a dashed line here at 1. Now, in this case, horizontal asymptote, so now we're at step 3. Which avenue am I going to take? Am I going to take the first one? Am I going to take the second one? Or am I going to take the third one and just move down to the oblique? Second? Second, it's a lot like it was yesterday, right? I had powers that were the same. So, that's a 3, that's a 3. So then, what am I going to do with the 2 and the number that's in front of here? 1. What am I going to do with those? Divide. So what is 2 divided by 1? 2. So y is equal to 2. Again, with your horizontal one, it doesn't necessarily mean that it can't cross it. Now, in this case, it's not going to. Okay, it's not going to cross over 2. There's going to be basically 1 on each side. And an easy way to find out is to go just like we did yesterday and kind of go one side or the other of where do we know one value already is on the left side of my asymptote, my vertical one. We already know it's at 0. Okay. We know that it can't cross there, so as it's moving closer and closer, this thing's going to be moving closer and closer to this imaginary line here. Now, as far as what it does, it makes a little dip in the middle between -1 and 0. Okay, you may or may not see it. It's okay if you don't. But it's going to kind of go, it's going to have a little bit of dip, but then it's just going to take off up here. You can always plug values in to find out. Like to see, hey, what's this going to be? What's going to happen with it? Okay, even if we go like with -10, okay, if I would plug in -10, I think is where it's at, I can take 2 times -10 to the third power and have -10 to the third power and then subtract 1. And I'm going to get a value that's going to be pretty darn close to +2. Okay? Because one value is really just double the other one, and I subtract 1 from it. Okay, so it's getting closer and closer to 2 as I go. Now, the one thing I would do just to kind of give myself some sort of reference point is to go on the other side of my asymptote. Okay, it's not going to be a horrible number. I know that this thing's getting closer to 2 as I move out. But even if I just go one step to the right, and if I plug in for x and I have a y and I plug in a 2. If I go 2 times 2 to the third over 2 to the third minus 1. Well, that's 16 over 7, right? Is everybody good with that? 2 to the third is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 2 to the third is 8 again. Minus 1 is 7. So, even at negative 2, what is 16 over 7? Something pretty darn close to 2, isn't it? Like, it's still pretty close right there. Okay? And we only went one step to the right. As this number gets out, it's going to get really, really close to that value, and as it goes, it's just going to take off right up that spot. I'm not really worried so much about the graph as I am worried about everything else. What's my domain going to go to, though? Negative infinity to 1, and then 1 to positive infinity. Now, what do we need to fill in for my oblique? None, or NA, right? Whatever you want to call it. Now, what about my range? Where's my range coming from? Always coming from negative infinity. And then from 2 to positive infinity. Now, why can't it just be from negative infinity to positive infinity? Okay, it could cross. Okay, you're close. It could cross 2, but it's not going to. Okay? Because you're always going to have a fraction, because it's always like the top side is always going to be double the bottom, but on the bottom I'm going to take 1 away. So I could have like 10,395,000, but on bottom I have 10,395,000 and or 1/10, or even, like 4,999. Like 1 less than whatever's on the top. Okay? So it's never going to get there. It's always just going to be just under half of whatever's on the top side.